We have time for 2 more questions, if my math is right.
Yes,
don't use
please
Common
keep
Core.
your question brief.
Good evening, Monica Smearman. I'm running for delegate here in District 32. I know that one of the areas that we're discussing about Section 8 housing, which isn't Section 8 housing, is the Dull Apartments along Crane Highway, which is in District 2. Are there other areas that you have concern of, or is there an issue with extending housing situations and medical improvement for people that may be drug addicted or homeless?
All right, we'll start with Mr. McMillan.
I'm not quite sure what you're asking. You're asking if we have what?
I'm asking if there are other areas in our district and in this local.
Stuart Pittman, the county bought the Dow Hotel for $3.2 million
Right.
for transitional housing. It's the property that she's talking about. Like the crowd count up, like the
Yes.
street.
I think the matter
The
being
question,
discussed
the biggest
here-
question I have is what's the hesitation in trying to help people that are drug addicted, that are homeless, that have issues in our county system?
I don't
We
think
bought
there's
the
an...
property, we paid for it, we're offering the opportunity. Why do we have the hesitation towards that?
Okay, now I understand your question. Well, here's the hesitation. Because it's in a neighborhood where families
It's in
live.
an industrial area.
Okay, for the sake of our discussion here, I think that the most appropriate way to handle this, and I think that the policy question, right, because that's what we're looking at. This is a county executive, the executive branch. The policy question is, how does your policy impact efforts to address the challenges in our community, and how does that intersect with things like housing? How does it intersect with the resources that we use, public resources?
I'll tell you what,
What is
I'm
your
just going to
stance on
answer the question the best way I see fit. How about that?
That's great.
That's great.
Sorry for the tough question.
Actually, the question wasn't tough. I just didn't understand it, what you were asking, because I am running for county executive. And yes, this happened here. And no, I don't agree with you. I do think that there are people who have an issue with that because they have families nearby. It's not like it's just the building next door. That isn't it at all. Whenever you want to do something, I think it's my turn.
Please allow the county executives to speak, please.
Whenever-
In about 20 minutes, ma'am, in about 20 minutes, ma'am, we are going to have an opportunity.
Business industrial area.
I don't mind. I'll just wait till she stops talking and then I'll answer.
It's not a family area.
You asked your question.
I did,
Allow
but it's not a family area, so I don't want to
Allow him to answer.
Not a family area.
Said you're running for delegate, right?
Give him the
This isn't your political forum tonight. This is my microphone now.
Thank you.
You had it a minute ago, and I'd like to be able to answer the
Absolutely.
question.
I would like to
So if you would
qualify the
please show me the
question
same
by saying that
respect
it's not
I show
an
you, I would appreciate it.
industrial or that it is an industrial and business area, that it is not a family community area.
Sorry,
There's a
disagree.
school 2 miles down the road. It is a community area.
Because
Now-
my constituents want to know.
The bottom line is
I
this.
hope you all know
The
that
bottom
there
line
are
is this,
more
all across Anne Arundel
than
County,
50% of
whenever a
this
county
property
executive wants to put housing of this type in, he needs to have buy-in from the
Yes,
neighborhood.
absolutely.
He needs to have some buy-in from the people that's going to impact. That's it. That doesn't mean we don't want to help people at all. It doesn't mean that at all. I had this same issue in Annapolis when I was a state delegate. There were sober homes that were springing up, and that's fine. But there have to be some limitations, and the community has to have some protections too. It's a two-way street. Sure, we're going to help people, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be placed into your neighborhood without you having an opportunity to even talk about it or any say-so in it. And I don't think that was done. I don't think it was done properly, and we obviously disagree. Thank you.
Amen.
Mr. Barra.
Is there anything else to say? So to answer your question, I'm not familiar with the area. However, About 2 weeks ago, a friend of mine, actually a lady, called me because they're trying to put a drug addiction housing right behind her property, right on Woods Road. Okay? And she was very panicking because A, her house is going to go down in price, and B, they're going to have questionable characters running around. Once again, let me tell you again, you know this is a government of the people, by the people, for the people. So it's up to you to decide whether or not you want this type of things in your area. Not it's up to me. It's not up to the higher elected officials. It's up to you to vote in or not. Okay? Now, I guess that's it, right? Let me give everybody else a chance.
Ms. Hare, go ahead.
Thank you. We see a pattern here with the current administration, right? He does things without thinking about them, right? We saw this with the crack pipes in Annapolis, right? He just does it and then goes, oh, that was a bad idea, right? So they bought this without any real public input. And what's crazy is they bought it with COVID money, right? The COVID dollars are supposed to have been spent on, PPE and masks and whatever else they might need it. Nope, they used CARES Act money to purchase this building. It does go on in a number of parts of the county. I have heard about it's hearsay, but I've heard through the grapevine about other properties that they are looking at to do the same type of thing, and they tend to just sneak it right in under the radar. I actually think, Mr. Barra, I spoke to the same woman today, actually, and drove by that property that they're looking at, which was initially approved for 9 single-family homes, but that's not what's getting built now, right? Because it's just getting in under the radar, kind of flipping at the very last minute. Community input is huge. I was actually proud to support a number of bills that I believe Councilwoman Fiedler put in about notice and making sure that notice got to neighbors from farther away. It used to be that you only had to mail neighbors that were, I believe, 175 feet away. Now that distance has been increased up to 300 feet. Councilman Volpe was put in a bill that had required recordings, audio or video recordings of certain meetings, public meetings, when someone's going to put in things like this, so that these types of things generated community input. The government needs to hold ourselves accountable to the same standards that we ask the general public to do, right? We need to be a leader in that front. So we absolutely need to have the community input on that side. At the same time, we really need to find a way to support those folks who suffer from addiction and other mental illnesses. I was proud to co-sponsor a resolution that would have expanded access for folks in crisis at the Crownsville Hospital Center, and unfortunately the county executive did not support that resolution, but I was proud to support that resolution. We do need more access for folks who have that mental health crisis that they're going through.
Mr. Grasso.
I'm still stunned. I can't believe they got $3.2 million for this property. But wow. The interesting part about that is what's happening is that I don't think anybody has a problem helping people, okay? It's when a helping hand becomes a paycheck. That's the problem, okay? And so I put legislation in, and it was called the 1 mile law. And basically what was happening was we were having homeless centers, plasma centers, pot places, TBD or whatever it is, centers, and methadone clinics. They were popping up all over the place in Glen Burnie. It's starting to look like Baltimore City. So I put legislation in that passed, and basically what it was is 1 mile. And it's interesting because if they're going to turn around and we're calling this a homeless center, if it's within 1 mile of one of those other 3 programs I told you about, it's against county law.
Right.
It's just that simple.
Yep.
Okay? And that's what we have, because we were actually pushing for, I think, 3 miles. And then one of the delegates said to me, he goes, man, 3 miles is a big diameter. He goes, why don't you just go for 1 mile? And I started looking at it. 1 mile is a long way if you put it in a big circle like this. So if you turn around, if you have a pot house, I call them a pot house, excuse if I'm not saying it right, but if you have a pot house right here, it's got to be 1 mile away from a homeless center or a plasma center, okay? And I'm almost positive that this 3.2 is within that 1 mile, and if it is, they can't move forward with that deal.
Amen.
So that's where that's at.
Mr. John.
My office, I live in the area, so I'm very familiar with the area that you're speaking of. My office literally attaches, if you're familiar with the Anne Arundel County House of Hope, my office is attached to that. I see the homeless every day when I'm at work. A lot of these people, look, they're drug addicts and what have you. But there's a lot of them that really want help. They really want to get things turned around. They want a job. I can't tell you, when I used to smoke, I used to have that bad habit. I would go outside of my office, smoke a cigarette, and people would come and they, oh, are you hiring? A lot of them want to work. The problem is they don't have an address. They don't have an address. You can't get a paycheck. You can't get a paycheck. You can't get a place to live without a paycheck, but you can't get a paycheck without a place to live. We need some out-of-the-box thinking here, okay? Look, nobody wants that in their community. I don't, and I don't know that anybody here does either. We need some out-of-the-box thinking because these people need help. They deserve help. We should help them. So one thing that's happened with COVID that may actually be able to help in this particular scenario is a lot of people are now working from home. What happens when people work from home? They don't go to the office anymore. Oh, very shortly, you're going to find, I'm sure, a lot of office complexes and business communities, they're going to be for rent. Well, why don't we maybe work with a partnership with the state, with investors to try to convert some of those soon to be, if not already, abandoned places, and let's work on converting them. That way they're not in your community, yet we're still able to help the people that need the help.
Give them all a hand. Thank you. And, I hope we're free for audience questions, but we'll think.
Do one more?
One more. Please, appropriate, brief.
Please, brief questions.